Hi, my name is Dr. BreAnna Guan, and I'm a licensed naturopathic physician. I specialize in women's health, fertility, and hormone health, and I really love to teach people lifestyle practices that help support their health and wellness. Practicing lifestyle medicine. I've been a naturopathic doctor for over 7 years. I graduated from Bastyr University in Seattle, Washington, and I am currently living in Spokane, Washington, with my 3 children and my husband, and we love to do outdoor things. And my passion for women's health really developed out of my own health issues and being really unsatisfied with the conventional medical model, and really felt like there was a lot missing. And so my goal and passion is to help empower women in their own wellness journey and support them to create thriving health. So in terms of this wonderful solstice event, I'm so excited for you to be here. And I want to share with you 5 tips that you can begin to incorporate into your daily life to help support you through this winter season so that you're ready to blossom and bloom when it comes time for spring. And so we'll dive right in. My first tip has to do with light. So in the winter months, we're not outside as much. We spend more time indoors because it's colder and perhaps there's just less daylight in the day. If you're working indoors and you don't have windows in your office, or you have, lighting that is less than ideal, then your light exposure is really reduced. Even if you're at home working on a computer screen, the amount of light that we get is very different than the light we would get outside. So the outside light is a full spectrum. There's a lot of different wavelengths, and it's a really dynamic light. Indoor light it's kind of like processed food. There really isn't a lot to it, and we need the full spectrum light, and it really has a lot of interesting benefits that science is only beginning to uncover. But I would argue that we might sense a difference if we're getting that regular outside time. So I would, for the first step, I would invite you to try to spend time outside, getting sun in your eyes, sunlight in your eyes on a daily basis. If you're able, if you can't do it during the week, be a weekend warrior and go out and get that light. But, research shows that when we get light exposure, great light exposure, especially kids, in the first half of the day, then we sleep better at night. So that's one of the benefits, is improving sleep. But we notice that people also struggle with mood issues in the winter. Perhaps people feel a little bit more down. They might have trouble sleeping. And then there's depression, and, you might just feel more lethargic and less able to go about and be the energetic being that you like to be. So getting outside is really going to help bolster your energy, your mood, support your sleep. And so it's really wonderful. We don't even understand all the benefits, but I think there is a lot. So I'd invite you to start trying that out if you're not already doing it. Good for you if you're already getting that outdoor light. And the second tip that I want to share with you has to do with artificial light. In the winter months, the light goes down early, especially as we're living up further north. We see, in the afternoon, the late afternoon, it's dark out and it's like, oh, time for dinner and bed. But actually there's still quite a bit more to our day. And so we often fill that evening time with a lot of artificial light. So people have phones or TVs and devices that they're using well up to bedtime. And that impacts our circadian rhythms. And also there is this natural way of following the seasonal patterns and reclining to more peaceful or inward activities in the evening. So how can we reduce that artificial light exposure and put more time into self-care practices or family creative activities, like doing something that you really enjoy, like painting or journaling or hobbying some creation? Perhaps you're doing board games by candlelight, or taking a bath with herbs or salts, doing more like aromatic oils and massages. Or there's so many ways that we can invest in ourselves in these self-care practices in those evening hours versus, using entertainment or other devices and then getting all that light exposure. So I recommend for a lot of my clients to try to 2 hours before bed, cutting back on that artificial light and using candlelight, reading books, doing more quiet things that would be more reflective of how our ancestors probably used their evening time in the past. Tip number 3 is to embrace the cold. So in the past, I felt this way too. When it gets cold, it's like, oh, I don't want to go outside. It's really, we want to stay away from that. And often we go from the car to the living room, to the office, to wherever. And really, we kind of cancel winter or don't expose ourselves to these elements of cold. The thermostat is always set, at 68, and the house is warm and snug. And so we don't get the benefits of that cold exposure. And a lot of times winter traditions are all meant at preserving energy and maintaining that warmth and heat. Well, we don't really need that very much if we're not exposed to cold. But I recommend taking time to, again, this one's similar, but go outside and experience cold. If you were doing walks in the spring, summer, fall, and now you're headed on the treadmill, can you take that walk back outside? I know when I was first transitioning, my ears would get really cold, my sinuses would get cold, but I just put the hat on and really work on the nostril breathing to keep that air warming up and just adapt to that. And it's a really great way to bring oxygen into your body. And if we're not moving as much, we're not going to be breathing as deeply. And so we're going to get more fatigued. And then we just kind of fall into those winter doldrums where we don't want to go outside. We're not as active. We don't feel as good. Our circulation is stagnant and there's just this heaviness. And then you add on the holiday food to that and you've got a great recipe for fatigue and, then wanting to do a great reset in the new year. So just staying active and really consistently investing in movement. It doesn't have to be a marathon, right? We always think if I'm moving, I want to go out and start doing a 3-minute mile or doing 3 miles rather. And it doesn't have to be like that. It could be a 10-minute brisk walk around the block, and that is going to make you feel good. Just stick with a tiny habit that you can complete, and then you can add to it, but definitely get outside. So if you're, doing all these wonderful little lifestyle changes, another thing that you might want to do is to support warmth and nourishment for the body via seasonal foods. I would add to that local seasonal foods. It's so great to invest in our local farmers and our local economy, especially in this time when small businesses are being hit hard from the economic changes. But there are so many great seasonal foods, like, bone broth couldn't be any better than in the winter, and it's high in collagen, so really good for gut health, good for joints, good for keeping the skin elastic and tight. Good for hair, skin, and nails, immunity. So I definitely recommend, using those traditional foods like bone broth to really invest in our health and get those great minerals this time of year. We're not eating so many green leafies, so we can definitely benefit from getting that really nourishing broth. And you can use whatever kind of bone you like. There are beef bones, pork bones, chicken bones. I really like, using a whole fryer chicken and cooking it up, and then just nothing goes to waste that way. That's a really great way to do it. You can also buy bones at natural food stores or butcher shops. There's, chicken feet. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but they're really high in collagen too. That's something a little bit more experimental if you're up for it. Maybe you're not, but there's so many ways that we can use these foods. I'd also recommend doing more herbal teas. So, if you turn on the faucet, at least in my house, the water is super cold. We run it through a filter, of course, but it's really cold water. And so it's just harder to drink for myself. And so I really like to make spearmint teas or peppermint teas. I like sage, ginger, cinnamon. So we can really use these herbs in our lifestyle too to integrate wellness. And it's just a little bit of spice to our life, right? So lemon peels, orange peels, cardamom pods could be in some chai blends of tea. And those are really stimulating for the digestion, the energy, the movement, the circulation, all these things we need to keep us vibrant in the cooler months when things tend to settle down and get more heavy and stagnant. So I would recommend, these warm liquids to keep us moist and hydrated, flowing, and warm. Essentially, we want to keep ourselves warm in these winter months, especially if you guys are going outside and getting that great fresh air and really invigorating activity outdoors. And then the last one that I want to recommend is a way to tap into your inner knowing, your inner healer. I really believe that within us, there is our own best medicine, right? We are our own best healers. We know ourselves. And the more that we know ourselves, the better that we can take care of ourselves, invest in ourselves, and really connect and understand. And so often at this time of year too, we're just flying by the seat of our pants, right? Everything is go, we got to finish it up the year. There's holidays, there's family, there's just lots of things to be wrapping up. And so we often forget the pause pieces, right? And I'll ask my clients or my patients, when was the last time do you pause? Do you just have these moments of stillness? And a lot of them are, don't have that practice. And so what I would invite you to do is find time within the day. I really like to do this first thing in the morning, this sort of meditative practice. I like to do it at the end of the day when I'm lying in bed, and it helps me fall asleep really well. If I'm feeling anxious, like I'm cooking dinner and the kids are, and there's like the laundry and like all that sort of feeling, I love to use this practice as well. So I'll just begin by connecting with my breath, and I'll recommend to take it to a deeper level. So often we breathe like this, and that stimulates our sympathetic nervous system and gets us really in this anxious state, and we can't sleep, and we can actually put on weight as our cortisol levels go up. We're not going to feel relaxed or clear. And so the way that you can practice this is to begin to deepen the breath. And so what I recommend is starting with inhalation, breathing really deep, and then exhaling, allowing all of that air to come out. So you're totally clearing out and making room for this fresh new breath. And then in. And out. And if you want to play with that, one thing that you can do is bring your hands up below your rib cage and put them there, and try to breathe into your hands so that your ribs expand. You can also bring your hands up to your collarbones, and as you're breathing in, try to lift your hands to your collarbones with your breath, and that will help really expand the breath. A deep breath, they say, is like the belly breath, and that's true, that's one part, but we want to see the ribs expanding and the chest lifting. And so great thing to do, you can do this anytime, it's free, and it helps you connect, and you feel your body like, wow, I'm really rushing around, or whatever the feelings are, you can connect with them. And so before bed, as you're having those anxious thoughts and there's a lot going on in your day, or when you wake up, to focus your energy, right? Instead of like going on the phone or checking the messages or rushing off, take that pause and set some intentions. Just connect with yourself. You don't have to do anything. It doesn't have to be intention. It could just be, making time for you, right? Your own best healer, your own best guide, your own sense of intuition, your own sense of knowing through that breath. So that's our 5. So we did the light, getting light outside, protecting ourselves, especially in the evening, from these artificial lights, and trying to find more of those self-nourishing, self-investing practices to take a little time in the evening for ourselves, using food as a nourishing practice. We did the breath work, right? And movement and cold outside. I almost lost that one. We want to get outside and embrace that cold and move our bodies and not avoid that coldness. So it's been my great pleasure to share this with you. I hope you find it valuable. I look forward to hopefully connecting with you at some point, but let this just be a gift from me to you, and thank you so much for being here. Thanks.